RFK, he's turning out to be the most popular guy in town, indeed. But no wonder, right? The media is trying to take him down, so they're making him into a little bit of a martyr, I guess, in the process. All while he goes for the jugular as Elizabeth Warren tries to beat him up. Did you see this in the hearings? I mean, this is pretty fantastic TV. Let me just say, quick soundbite from RFK giving it to Elizabeth Warren.
I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
You see, I told you would catch me. I told you. I don't have a commercial break. It's hot under these lights. What can I say? Little powder. All right. So look at this. This is what's going viral online right now. You're seeing all these different politicians with how much money they've taken from Big Pharma. That was his point to Elizabeth Warren, that you're not as clean as one would think because, you know, who pays for your campaign? Big Pharma. Well, this message, I think in part because he's been consistent on it and he hasn't wavered and he really kind of seems to be speaking the truth. In at least as he sees it, right? That's not hopefully polluted by the likes of the money, right? That some of these other people are getting from Big Pharma. And I think that this helps explain why he is now the most popular member of Donald Trump's cabinet.
Most popular of all the key officials that we have recent polling on. Pete Hegseth, his net favorable, minus 14 points. J.D. Vance, minus 11. Marco Rubio, minus 10. RFK Jr. is at minus 7. But minus 7 beats minus 10, beats minus 11, beats minus 14. So, no, RFK Jr. is not a drag on President Trump. He's not the most embattled. In fact, he is the most popular official in Trump's cabinet, at least according to the polling.
It is interesting, though there have been calls for his resignation among some people in the CDC, but this was surprising to me to see these poll numbers here, which is why I welcomed the fact check from you. Another thing in the news has to do with Florida, where they're trying to overturn all vaccine mandates, including vaccine mandates in school for children. What do the polls tell us about that?
Okay, this to me is one of the most interesting and, in my opinion, most troubling trend lines that we have seen. Okay, vax kids against infectious diseases, the government should require it. You go back to 1991, it was 81%, okay? Then we go to 2019 at 62%. Look at where that number fell to by 2024. It was just 51%. That is a 30-point drop from 34 years ago. My goodness gracious. Now a bare majority say that the government should, in fact, require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases. Amongst Republicans, it's the opposite. The majority say the government shouldn't require it. Now, I should point out this does depend a little bit on question wording. The polling out this morning says that the government should encourage it, but encourage it is very different from requiring it. And when it comes to requiring it, the American public has become increasingly skeptical of the idea that, in fact, the government should require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases.
And I want you here to talk about the political environment surrounding the health apparatus in this country right now, because I'm about to talk to David Urban, our friend David Urban, Republican, who I guarantee you is going to say something to the effect of that there's no trust anymore, or the trust has fallen among public officials when it comes to health.
Yeah, this to me, if you're a public health official, this is perhaps the most worrying statistic that you should see. Look at this. Look at this. How well masks and vaccines limit COVID. Public health officials lied. They lied. In 2022, it was 45%. Look at where that number is now, 50%.
Wow. So I think that, you know, what you're kind of feeling and seeing here is that there's a very libertarian streak that has come out in the American population. And that's perhaps in part because they really feel like we got dumped on, right, during March 2020. And people are still bruised from that. And as a result, they're less willing to trust the government who's saying do this, that, and the other. And there's this pushback. Plus, let's face it, there's more information out there that you can see. I think people also haven't recovered from the reality that information was hidden. I'll give you an example. I used to work at MarketWatch way back when in my career, marketwatch.com. And so I remember the reporters, a friend of mine, that had done a story on an Oxford study that had come out about one of the vaccines. I think it was Pfizer actually, and some side effects, minimal, that had been reported in some people. And this was all during the height of everything. And so I saw that story and I was like, wow, it was at the top of MarketWatch, like as a lead. And I I took my computer downstairs because everybody was home back then. Remember, we were all working from home. And I went into my husband's office and I was going to show it to him. And I was like, wow, look at this. And I went to go back to the website and it was gone. And so I'm like pouring through the website, gone. I can't find this study. And I'm like, so finally I do a search and I'm still not finding it. So I knew the reporter's name. I put in his name. I put in that it was Oxford. I put in that it was Pfizer. And finally the story comes up. It had been like buried within minutes. So like, we're not over that, okay? Like I kept saying at the time, you are running the risk of destroying the trust and faith of the American people, the little that they have in government. You're going to totally ruin it. And that's in fact what they did. And so now, you're seeing some states like Florida getting praised by residents there with DeSantis saying, to heck with this, we don't want any part of it. Regardless of where you come down on this, I think you have to recognize that a lot of the trust, a lot of the equity that may have been built up was just depleted, right? People no longer trust the government as a result of what went down. And so that's the spot we find ourselves in now. So they look at RFK Jr. and they're like, hey, you don't trust the government, I don't trust the government, so I trust you. And that hence is why he's climbing in terms of popularity, and he's now the most popular cabinet member in the Trump administration.